Morning Rock family. For the sake of the YouTube followers, I will introduce myself. My name is Aideen. I've been with the Rock for nearly 15 years now. I have 2 daughters and they blessed me each with a grandchild last year. So yes, I did receive my double blessing. My talk is a little bit different to what you will hear from Jim. I want to tell you about my testimonies in my life and how it ties up to the Bible. I want to show you how God has moved in my life, and it was only Him that carried me through it. Today I want to speak to you about false prophets, and I want to quote the following verse read the following verse out the Bible. Matthew 7:15 to 20. It's out of the New International Version. True and false prophets. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit, you will recognize them. I was in the transport industry for 22 years. It's a tough industry to be in this day and age. I was working for a company where the owners were Christians, and I thought, yes, God, this is my place. I started working there, and it was always in the beginning, everything was very positive. Even the staff were Christians. Dealing with clients on trucks and repairs is one of the most pressurized environments to be in. A truck off the road means that the owner is losing money and deliveries are going to be late and customers and the public will be unhappy. The question is, when you work with Christians, as we say, are they really Christ followers or fans? The owners and staff seem to be Christ followers, but that soon changed after a couple of months. I'm a firm believer in actions speak louder than words. Soon it was revealed to me that the owners were Christ fans and not followers. They proved to me that they were fans because the way they conducted their business. I saw that money was their God. I started to come under attack from all sides, even from Christian employees. So much so that there was a meeting and a confrontation with the owners and this staff member, the Christian staff member. In that meeting, the staff member said to me, "You seem to do a lot of things out of the goodness of your heart." And I turned around and I looked at her and I said, "Actually, I do." I was accused of getting private work for my mechanic and getting paid for it and him getting paid. What actually happened on that Saturday, we closed the workshop at 12 o'clock. I had to close up the workshop, so I was the last to leave. And my foreman was still there. The rest of the staff had left. And I said to my foreman, I said, "Do you need a lift?" Because I saw him carrying his toolbox. So he says, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Where are you going to?" He says, "No, I just need to go to the taxi rank in Pinetown." So I said to him, "Well, just wait 5 minutes for me and I'll give you a lift and I'll drop you off." So he waited for me, put his stuff in my vehicle, went to the taxi rank, dropped him off, said, "See you Monday, have a good weekend." And I went home. And out of that, the the Christian assumed that I had given the foreman a private job to go do private work so that I could have a gain of money and he could have a gain of money. But I wasn't. As I said, I do a lot of things out of the goodness of my heart. I didn't have the heart to let him walk approximately 10 k's to get to the taxi rank, and I just dropped him off. So people misconstrue a lot of things. After much discussions with the owners, I decided I need to leave the company as I could no longer work in such a toxic environment. Principalities and powers were fighting against me, and my health was taking a turn for the worst, and that I just couldn't cope anymore. So we came to an agreement, and I was retrenched for the fourth time in my life, and this was in April 2022. Every time I have been retrenched, something major happens to someone I know. When I left that last day, I still said to God, "You have a strange sense of humor. What is going to happen now? And who am I going to have to look after?" Bearing in mind, my grandson was due at the end of April 2022, and I thought I would be helping my daughter get into motherhood. In the middle of April, KwaZulu-Natal had major floods and many homes were lost. One of my closest friends lost his 16-year-old son when there was a landslide and his whole home was destroyed. My friend was trapped under debris for many hours. His other two sons were safe and secure, and even the two little dogs managed to survive the ordeal. When I finally got to see my friend in hospital, he had suffered a severe fracture on his left femur. He had had to have extensive surgery, and when it was time for him to come out of hospital, he had no place to stay. He came and stayed with me for 3 months as he had nowhere to go. Fortunately, I had enough funds to carry me for a while. Life was a real struggle those 3 months, as I was personally going through dealing with looking for a job and trying so hard not to worry about the future, but trust God that He will provide. My friend was struggling with his own loss of his son and having a fractured leg, worrying about money, worrying about how he's going to work, worrying how he's going to provide for his 2 kids. So it was a very trying time. My friend had nothing left except the clothes that he had on his back during the course of his rescue. We started to reach out to the public for help, started collecting and household items, as he had to start from scratch all over again. Eventually, the beginning of August, we managed to find him a home, and with all the items and clothing donated, him and his 2 boys and the dogs were reunited. It was a bittersweet feeling to have. I'd applied for a job in July and ended up going for 4 interviews with this company. I met the owner and they spoke about the business and how God had blessed them. They were quick to tell me that the company had a church meeting every day at work from 8:30 to 9 in the morning, and various people in the company would bring the word. Wow, I said, "Lord, is this the job that you've been preparing me for?" Eventually, I started at this company in August 2022. The one part of the job was that I would have to travel 50 kilometers to and from work on one of the most treacherous roads in KZN, the N3. That is well known for accidents of any type. It was by the pure grace of God that took me to and from work, as on several occasions there were many close calls, not because I was driving badly or anything, but boy, there's a lot of people on the road that don't know how to drive. In the beginning, I loved every minute of it. I enjoyed having church every day. I started to learn what the company was about and how the car carrying company industry operated. I was working from 7 to 5 every day with 1 hour's travel either way. So it was long hours, but I kept saying to God, you put me here for a reason. In October 2022, we moved to the workshop as I was the workshop manager. The workshop used to be based down in the Eastern Cape and they transferred it here to KZN. At this time, life became very difficult as I was now expected to work all month, Saturday and Sunday, and could only have 1 weekend off a month. Between the traveling, the working hours, my health started to deteriorate again. I was constantly sick and I just couldn't anymore. I could not attend church at work as the workshop opened at 7 a.m. in the morning and there's always a queue of trucks standing outside the workshop. I started dealing with the owner more and more on a day-to-day basis and certain issues that came up. And I started to realize there is no way they practice what they preach because of the way they treated their staff. Remember, actions speak louder than words. I wanted to do a church service in the workshop at about 9:30 because that's when it slowed down, just for about 15 minutes every morning. Boy, was that a struggle. Individually, staff members came to me and told me they are not interested because of the way the owner treated them. They were also of the opinion, practice what you preach. I started to step back and observe what was going on. I prayed a lot about it. I spoke to my parents, who are my prayer warriors. I even discussed it with Jim because, God, you put me here. Why am I here? There were multiple occasions where I'd ask God, what are you doing to me? I cannot work with someone who professes to be a Christ follower, but is actually a false prophet. Not even a fan as far as I'm concerned. I prayed a lot about this predicament that I was in, and there was even a point where I fought with God. I said to him that he knows that I cannot go through this valley again. All I was asking was an 8 to 5 job, Monday to Friday, weekends off, and my health to improve. I actually shouted at God on the way home one Sunday after work. And I think if anyone had seen me, I'm sure people did. But if you had seen me, you probably thought I was a raving lunatic on the road. After fighting with God that Sunday, I received a phone call on a Tuesday morning for an interview as a PA stroke office manager for doctors' rooms. I knew very minimal about medical, bearing in mind 22 years in the transport industry is another story. But I said, I'm definitely interested. I mentioned that I can only meet them after 6 p.m. in the evening, as this was the time I actually got home. The doctor said, it's fine, we will meet. I sat down at the table, we met at a restaurant, and we started chatting. And during the course, it was not like an interview, it was more like a discussion. And then the next minute I was offered, would you like something to eat? I never expected that. And I thought to myself, Lord, and these people aren't even Christians. I prayed about this job as I would have to take a cut in salary. But then I remembered the fact that I had fought with God just a few days earlier. I said to him, I'm going to take a leap of faith and accept the position. I won't forget the first Monday afternoon in this job when I got home. I got home at 5 o'clock. I didn't know what to do with myself. I used to get home at 6:30 in the evenings, and then it was a mad rush for dinner, shower quickly, go to bed, get up at 4 the next morning. When getting to know all the staff in the doctor's rooms, I discovered that I was working with genuine Christ followers. No more Christian fans. Yay. Thank you, Lord. I'll be coming to a close shortly to sum it all up. We need to be very aware, especially in this day and age, who are genuine Christ followers and who are Christ fans. Also understand that when things go wrong or don't work out the way it should, God is always working in the background. You see, I got that job up in close to Pietermaritzburg because God knew I needed the finances before He could make this other position available for me. God's way is not our way by no means. God really does work in His time. He provided for me after I was retrenched. He provided a roof over my friend's head when he had nothing. God knew I needed a job until something better was offered to me at this medical practice. He looked after my health, my finances, and my sanity because I had no one else but God to rely on. Please don't ever forget, God hears our cries, and the hardest part is trusting Him to help us. Thank you. Oh, hold on.
It's amazing how God can actually work with us and work through us. And I would just like to say and make a comment that when the children of Israel, Egypt, and they were crying to get out of Egypt, and they were moaning the whole time they were there. But yet of all, it was in the wilderness, in that wilderness period, when God spoke to them. In fact, it was in the wilderness period when He gave them the 10 Commandments. It was in the wilderness period when, in the book of Leviticus, He gave them the sacrifices and what they were prepared to do. So, no matter what wilderness you're going through, and Aideen went through, I know there's a lot more to go through. And when Aideen went through a lot of the wilderness, and God was speaking to her the whole time. And I thank God that you've been faithful to what you believe in, and you've carried on, and God has seen you through. Interesting enough is that while you're going through that wilderness period, God goes through it with you, and He still provides for you. God bless you. Thank you so much. I'd like to hear more testimonies and what God can do for people. God bless you. Thank you. Amen.